What is the worst experience you've had flirting with someone? Not exactly flirting, but back in first year, I took a girl I'd had a huge crush on to see a movie. Near the closing credits, I leaned in to kiss her, and she leapt out of the seat and screamed no at the top of her lungs in the middle of the theater. Driving her home was pretty awkward. After that I had a lot more confidence asking girls out, because I figured what's the worst rejection that could happen? Scream in terror in front of more than 100 people? Been there, done that. Dating and flirting got a lot easier after that. I once saw this guy wait for a girl's friend to go to the toilet, leaving her alone. Then he danced this really goofy dance. He put his arms out to the side with his elbows bent, then basically bobbed his arms up and down, all the way across the room to her, and, while still arm bobbing, said, "Hey, wanna dance?" To which she replied no, and he said okay, then did the arm bob dance all the way back across the room to where he started in one slick motion. Coast to coast. I was talking to a girl in the elevator of my faculty. I asked her name as I was raising my hand to make a finger gun gesture. The space was so small I ended up touching her tea with it. When I was in college, I had long hair for being a guy. I'm also a redhead, yes, no soul, so it was quite a main. One brutally cold day, I was wearing a long black overcoat while pumping gas and I heard a voice behind me said, "Hey baby, want to go back to my place to get warm?" I turned around thinking it must have been directed at someone else, but instead saw the most surprised old man I'd ever seen. When he caught sight of my full beard, he jumped like he just touched a live wire. He stammered, "OHH. God bless you. OHH. God bless you," as he backpedaled back to his pickup truck, then ran over a curb trying to leave the gas station. I have long hair and have been accidentally called a girl a few times. I can never decide if it's funny or embarrassing to me. I should probably just cut my hair. I had an uncontrollable crush on a gorgeous, tall unaffected guy named Alan my first semester of college. He lived on my floor and couldn't be any less into me. I could tell that I had a snowball's chance with him, but the hormones, they are impossible to ignore. Being very inexperienced, I thought that creating drama would inspire him to see me as the cute vulnerable stereotype I thought tall boys wanted. So I manufactured some reason to need to have a long, emotional talk in the hall and, with what I thought was superb timing, I looked up at him with big, teary eyes, paused for 2 heartbeats and then lunged at him for a kiss. He called me on my crap so fast, my head spun. "I knew you were going to do that," he said. "You know I'm not interested in you." What made you think that was going to work? It was the first time I'd made a pass at a boy since moving to the city from the boonies, and it was the first time I'd been rejected. He did me a favor in a way, though. I never used artifice or stereotypes or created false drama again. I still wish he had let me kiss him, though. Edit. Proper tense. Sigh. I was flirting with a girl in a bar, and it seemed to be going well. About a half hour into our conversation, I had one of those very strong sneezes, the ones that come out of nowhere and cannot be stopped. I ended up snotting into my hand and had a string of goo from my hands to my face when I pulled my hands away. I just walked away. I'm trying to think of a way you could have made it funny and have her laugh, but even with time, I'm drawing a blank. That's horrible. Or you're flirting with a girl that you swear is like 22 and then her mom rolls around the corner and starts talking to you about her first day of 10th grade. And you're like, what the frick are you feeding her? Miracle Grow? This is why, as a 21-year-old, I've just stopped flirting with any girl I meet at the mall. I'm an extremely shy guy, but I was on my holidays and met this gorgeous Russian girl who works in a bookshop. I had noticed her before, so after we speak for a while I tell her I like her straight away. She says she won't date me until she knows me better, and that is okay for me to stop at the bookshop and have a chat whenever I feel like. So we do this a few times and she is very friendly despite me not hiding my intentions at all. And then one afternoon I notice her boss is working behind her, but she tells me it's okay to chat. We do that for a while, me stopping whenever a customer enters and doing my best not to disrupt her. After a while her boss comes to me and tells me to leave. Extremely embarrassed, I apologize and leave. I come back to the shop after a few days and only the boss is there. I apologize again for the incident, and she tells me point blank that she's fired the woman and that in the end I made her, the boss, a favor. I felt terrible and haven't come back to that place. TLDR. Got the object of my affection fired. I used to work at the mall, and many days we would go to a certain burrito place for lunch. None of us employees knew the cute Hispanic girls who worked there. One guy just called them all Maria by default. There was one girl there I thought was especially cute, so I decided by God, I'm going to ask her out, so I went to the taqueria in question and, when she asked me what I wanted on my burrito, I asked for her number. Since that wasn't a burrito topping, she paused, and then repeated the question. I looked around. There was a line of hungry, impatient people behind me, staring, unamused. My momentum was gone. I mumbled something under my breath about "I've seen you here before" or some crap. Misinterpreting what I was asking her, she leaned over, pointed helpfully at one of the possible burrito toppings, and said olives. It was at that point that I realized that she did not speak English beyond the basic vocabulary needed to make a burrito. I relented and ate my lunch in defeat. Update. I asked a friend of mine how to say "Esta muy bonita" and made a second attempt. The problem here was the same, only reversed, because I have no earthly idea what a response meant, having exhausted my knowledge of Spanish by speaking 3 words. In San Diego, my first time to SoCal. I'm from Western NY and burn like you wouldn't believe in the sun. Walked all over without sunscreen. My face was swollen and peeling. But I forgot about it because I was really drunk. We were out at the bars and I was talking to this cute girl thinking I was being devastatingly charming, and she stops me and says, "I don't mean to stop you. And you seem like a really nice guy, but do you need to go to the hospital? Your face is really swollen." Devastating. I don't think that's bad. She seemed concerned. I would think that is a good thing. You should have seen if she would have taken you. Also, you have the same username as my favorite neurologist. Realizing that I was related to the girl I was flirting with, and then realizing that she didn't care we were related. Hey, do you have plans tonight? No, my mom's not home. And your dad? He died some years ago. Got drunk, fainted and hit his head with a table and died. Oh. This was 2 years ago. My buddy had been talking about this girl he had been hanging with for a while. He had been taking her out to various avenues and just spending time with her, but had not worked up the courage to kiss her. He finally decided to introduce me to her and tells me to meet him at this bar we go to. I walk in, and he is nowhere in sight. So I text him and he says he is running a little late. He will show up in another hour or so. Frick. So, I start ordering drinks, and at the bar I notice this girl who is not bad looking and seems as frustrated as I am. We get to talking about how unreliable people can be, introduce ourselves, and I take her to play a game of pool. We are flirting pretty hardcore throughout this game, with her accidentally brushing up against me and whatnot. Eventually I make a bet with her on a shot. If I make it, she owes me a kiss. I sink the shot, make out with her for a few minutes, yada yada yada. Find out it is the girl he has been seeing. They've been together since, and we didn't inform him of this for a few months. Update. Well, crap. He is away doing military training and she just cheated on him this weekend. Guess he should have seen it coming. My failed flirting attempts usually involve girls not recognizing sarcasm. The favorite of these is, in response to her mentioning she was taking a class in race relations, or something like that, I reply, "That's interesting. I'm actually racist myself." Her eyes got real big and she got real quiet. "Are you serious?" To be fair, sometimes it's really hard to tell whether a person you just met is joking or serious. I'm a very humorous person, so I always assume that people are joking, and this has sometimes been a very big mistake. Similar to our story, only I was in line at Subway. I was friends with the girl who was making the sandwiches that day, and she was definitely cute. The guy in front of me was hitting on her as he made his sandwiches. He had like 3 or 4, so he was giving her a hard time for a good 10 minutes while she prepared all of it. When he finally paid, He grabbed and kissed her hand as she gave him his change and said in the cheesiest voice I've ever heard, "Would you accompany me to the theater, my lady?" I could tell by her face that he was going way too far, so I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, that's my wife." He goes, "Bulls, prove it." I just about drew a blank when the girl reached over the counter and grabbed me and gave me a huge kiss. The dude turned totally red and ran out of the store. Then she gave me extra cheese for free. TLDR. I got a kiss and cheese from a girl at Subway. Nothing better than the cheese of a Subway girl. When I was 18 or 19, there was this cute hippie girl who I had an absolutely massive crush on. We'd been talking for a little while, and things were looking positive. So, myself and a group of folks went to meet her and her group of people in a park. Get there, everybody's greeting one another, and her and I kind of drift together to do a little greet with a hug kind of thing. Hippie girl, wearing Birkenstocks. I step in to give her a hug, and kick her big toenail clean off, completely off. So yeah, she's bleeding and in a lot of pain. I'm not sure what to do. 15 or 20 people are there gasping and commenting. Pretty awkward. Post. My favorite ever would be just after I broke up with my first long-term girlfriend. As a raver we would all go out and visit this dirty club where pretty much anything went. No bar. So I see this rather hot girl on a staircase and I was pretty fuba by this point. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" We talk for a minute or so, then I just throw in the question, "So hey, are you single?" She goes, "Yeah." Then I just freeze up, say nothing and stand there. After 30 seconds or so she just goes, "Well, this is awkward," and walks off. It still haunts me to this day. Halloween party. I take a little break and sit by myself by the fire and have a smoke. Girl comes over. Very cute, very friendly, very flirty. So we sit there and talk and flirt for like a half hour. Then some dude walks up. "Oh hey, this is my husband, FML." I'm a waiter at a fine dining restaurant. I often flirt playfully with female patrons. The other night I'm waiting on a senior couple and their friend whom they've taken out for her birthday. During the night I discover that the couple's friend is having a horrible week and seemed sort of lonely. I up game a little bit and at the end of the night I'm taking their plates and asking if they'd like dessert. The couple orders a slice of cheesecake but their friend declines sort of sadly, attempting to cheer her up, and probably not in my right mind. "That's too bad. I have a special dessert in mind for you." I wink at her and walk away before the full implications of what I just said struck me. I was dancing with this guy at a club and we were talking. He asks me a few questions about university and then goes, "So what are you doing after?" I interpret this as meaning he wants to go back to his place. So I say, "Sorry, I'm with my friends tonight." He starts to laugh and says, "No, I meant what are you doing after university?" I turned beet red, mumbled something unintelligible, and kept dancing. After a few minutes of silence I made an excuse and walked away. I asked a girl to prom and my suave friend was giving me advice. He said that beforehand I should call her and talk to her a bit, and ask what she was wearing. Later, I found out that he meant at the prom as opposed to right now. Oh. So one night, my freshman year of college, my girlfriends and I decide to get dressed up and go out to some frat party. Foolproof idea. Several hours later, properly intoxicated and dressed up, we make it to the party and promptly hit the dance floor. This guy comes and starts dancing with me using some hip thrusty bro motion. Whatever they do these days. 30 seconds later, he bites my neck out of nowhere, just straight up grinding and gnawing at my neck. So, naturally, I elbowed him as hard as I could in his stomach and walked away calmly. He actually hunted me down and acted all injured that I was mad. Oh, Long Islanders. We were downtown at a bar. Now, I don't normally go out of my way to hit on chicks, but there was this one gal. She wasn't hot but man she was exactly my type, and obviously the kind of person I really wanted to talk to get on. So I walk on over and introduce myself to her, feeling more confident than I ever have in similar situations. She responds warmly, but directs my attention to the girl standing next to her. "Sorry, you're really nice and I like you, but this is my girlfriend." Broke my heart. Lesbians. Oh well. I demanded to see proof that they were lesbians and they made out for me on the spot. Men Exact thing happened to my wife's employee at her last cafe in Germany. She had a lesbian who worked for her. Really pretty and kind of punk. The military guys loved it. They'd hit on her left and right and she'd always respond, "I'm in a relationship." They'd keep on, she'd say, with a woman. At the bar with a co-worker, he sees a cute blonde that he claims to know who he says is German. Me, slightly okay, more than slightly, inebriated, decides that this is the perfect intro to go use my German language skills to impress. I went over and slurred something vaguely resembling "we jets girl doesn't understand" and asks me to repeat myself. I do so 2 more times, at which point she asks me what the heck are you saying? Quite aware that there was no doubt that this girl was American like me, I quickly explain what my butthole friend had told me, apologize, and quickly walk away in shame. A co-worker decides to then tell everyone the story of my failure, including my boss. Awesome. I asked her if she wanted to step out for a cigarette so we could talk more in private, and she told me her mother has lung cancer. I apologized and walked away. Ground rule: don't ask someone to step out for a cigarette with you unless you know for a fact they are also smokers. But done, that must have felt so awkward. Originally from b3tar.com, my flatmate's boss's son came to stay with us in Bermondsey, South London. He was an 18-year-old from Los Angeles. He was unbelievably cocky and told us that his chat-up lines never failed. He decided to try one in a pub near the Millwall ground, against our advice, on a girl at the bar. This was the conversation. "Hey there, is your dad a thief? What the frick did you just say to me?" Flustered, because he stole the Star's End. "Do you want me to break your fricking neck? Hey, sorry, I just, frick off," he almost cried. True story. Last night the girl I've liked for a long time was sitting next to me. Kept moving closer until we were talking and basically rubbing against each other and I was so happy. Then something happened and I had to move away for a moment. When I tried to move back very close, she got up and left. I tried asking what was wrong. I tried apologizing but she just walked away. Then I woke up and I was so sad. This is the worst. It kept spiraling round down the drainpipe of despair, and the last sentence is a cruel twist of fate. Apparently I flirt subconsciously, so I guess that's my worst experience with it. I can be talking to the cashier at a grocery store, and my roommate will give me that "you were totally flirting with her" look, followed by him by saying "you were totally flirting with her." Your roommate wants to make sweet love with you. Once I propositioned a fine young lass by informing her that my testicles smelled of the finest of handcrafted cheeses. The lady was not, in fact, wooed. Hey, at least it sounds like your wife is hot enough to be flirted with. I get a kick out of it when guys flirt with my wife. It's even better when girls flirt with her. Oh yeah, I had no problem with it. I always take it as a compliment to her and my good taste. Ugh. I was at one of my high school JV soccer games, and I had been subbed out, so I was just messing around with a soccer ball on the sideline, chatting it up with our cute trainer. She was out of my league, but seemed interested anyways, so I absent-mindedly start standing on the ball, while still chatting. I ended up standing on it for a good 2 minutes until I step off it and try to stand back on it. My feet end up over my head and I land squarely on my back. She just gives me an embarrassed look and walks away without saying another word in the middle of the conversation we were having. I never spoke to her again. TLDR. Soccer balls will frick your crap up if you let them. I was at working a cash register in a gas station and this beautiful blonde girl walks in. While she's paying for her stuff she starts complimenting me a lot. It was like a non-stop barrage of compliments. I was completely baffled. I had never had anybody compliment me on anything and I was unprepared for so many of them. I think she could see that I was confused so she said, "I'm flirting with you." I didn't know how to respond. All I could say was, "Oh." Then she left. So I'm out one night stand shopping. I had just broken up with someone and couldn't get over him. When I see this guy at the bar who I had been flirting with for months, I had thought he was so attractive. He came into my work and just chatted me up all the time, and I was always under the impression he would want to hook up sometime. Well, when I finally got up the courage to ask if he had a girlfriend, He said, nope, he didn't seem to get it. So I said, well, that's cool. I am not seeing anyone either. He said, well, it looks like it is going to stay that way. Well, in his defense, I wouldn't go out with Satan's mom either. I was a cocktail waitress at a club, and this super hot girl was flirting with me. I couldn't believe it. She was smart, interesting, stunningly beautiful, and she actually asked for my number. After I give it to her, she tells me my friend thinks you're cute. I'll make sure she calls you and walks away. Yes, it was the old bait and switch. She was hooking me up with her friend who was 15 years older than me. Way too serious, and not even the slightest bit my type. To make up for it, when the girl called and asked me out on a date, I tried to get out of it. She said she already knew I was free, since I had told her friend, and wouldn't take no for an answer. So I brought my two best guy friends along. It actually ended up being a pretty fun night, but there was no way I was going out with that girl again. My friend thinks you're cute. I'll make sure she calls you. Oh really? Well, I'll make sure my friend answers. This may have ended up someone's worst experience with flirting, but not my friend's. Friend, hey, do you know how much a polar bear weighs? Girl, I don't know. Friend, me either, but it sure does break that ice. Hi, I'm George. Girl, that's not funny. Friend, oh yeah, well neither is your weight. Bouncer, yo man, that was hilarious, but I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. The best part about this is how the bouncer is just injected into the situation. Way back when I was 17, I worked at the local hardware store, and being the nice young lady I was, my boss liked me working the checkout. One day a husband and wife come through my line and the wife asked her husband, do you want a lollipop? We gave out lollipops at the checkout. His reply, number, but I do want the girl behind the counter. I gave out a yeah right kind of laugh, and pretty much finished the sale as fast as I could with the wife. Not my worst experience, but perhaps different than the other stories you're hearing. First date, so perhaps one stage past flirting. Me, after lying a bit to make a funny story funnier and getting called on it. Well, it's like Grandpa Cannon used to say, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. My smoking hot date. My family always says it has never sacrificed a good story for the sake of a little truth. Me, you're a George Q. Cannon. Then, her, second wife, you, me, fourth, her. So, we're like half third cousins or something. Then, me, yeah, awkward cricket noises. The main downside of my Mormon polygamous heritage is that I'm half third cousins or closer with about 2,000 people my age. After that date, my first question to any girl from Utah was, you aren't descended from George Q. Cannon by chance, are you? At a house party, my fiance and I are kind of facing each other in a walkway. A drunk girl stumbles up to me without seeing my fiance behind her and slurs, my name is Kelly and I am the coolest girl you are ever gonna meet. I said, I am lockable deadbolt, I want you to meet someone. My fiance looks at her and says, hi, I am the coolest person he has ever met. There was no threesome. 0. It was during a biology final, and the cute girl from my lab group found me and sat in the seat next to mine. She made me nervous. I knew I could make her laugh, and she was the best thing about freshman bio lab. We talked about what we might do after the semester was through, and I was trying to find an excuse to mention something that might involve us. She mentioned a band she liked. I said, have you ever gone to see them? So many times. One summer my friends and I followed them around everywhere. We even snuck backstage a few times. It was like we were freaks, I was going to say, like roadies. I don't know how the word freaks came out. I rarely say that word. I hate that word. It was hanging there like a taut noose around my neck. The final began. She finished before I did. I never saw her again. I took this girl out on a date when I was in high school. I think I liked her more than she liked me, and I just couldn't believe she was on a date with me. Anyway, this movie we watched was an old one and it was a weekday afternoon, so no one was there but us. We ran around the place, jumping over seats and trying to play tag. Finally I run over to her and she stops running and just turns around. I grab her and I knew this was the moment I was probably going to have my first kiss. So I hold her close, close my eyes and lean in for the kiss. I was clueless to this kissing thing. There's no communication involved, I tell ya. It's like going in for a handshake or fist bump. So I lean in with my mouth closed and puckered and hers were partly open. We connect and I quickly move my head back with the first words coming out of my mouth being "don't use your tongue." And she goes, "I wasn't going to." Yeah, we broke up shortly after that. I know this isn't a flirting situation, but man. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.